Good news. The recession is over, isn't it? Or is it really? Is there something that the media is not telling us that's going on right now that apparently we're not putting two plus two together to get the right answer? Well, I'm going to talk about that here today because there's two articles that I found that came pretty close in time period to each other. That concerns me a lot and is actually a leading indicator to what's coming in the coming recession. And most importantly, hang to the end because I'm going to talk to you about what you can do right now to prepare for it. Okay, so there's two different articles that came up here. So here's one with Bank of America that they did. They're looking at different households and look at who's receiving unemployment benefits. Obviously, if you're getting benefits, that means you've been unemployed. And remember, we've been told that unemployment rates have hit all-time lows, hitting around 3.5% right now. Well, here's what they say. They say if you're over the $125,000 a year tax bracket, which is like a lot of our clients are today, if you're over that $125,000 income bracket, those that are receiving unemployment benefits are 60% higher than last July. That's not quite double, but it's getting on its way to that point in just a year. Now, here's what's interesting though. It also says that for those that make between 50 and 125,000, those numbers are 40% higher than last year. And then for those that make under 50,000, it's 20% higher. So here's a few things. So it still says it's historically low, but one problem with this: how is the unemployment rate going down, yet unemployment benefits are up? Is that ever seem a little suspicious to you? Now, someone might say, well, Chris, maybe last year because money was coming in from the government, maybe they didn't want to file for unemployment benefits. And that's possible, but is it really that likely? The problem is this, guys, that for whatever reason, we know that the government's lying about labor statistics. Unemployment is going up. The reason that the higher income brackets are going up is because people are cutting back. We know that the tech industry has been hit hard. Even our own clients, we have a lot of clients in the IT industry. There's been a few layoffs already. Many of them have been middle managers making sometimes in excess of a couple $100,000 a year. And now these tech companies are starting to cut back, oftentimes cutting the highest income, the highest wage earners in their company and keeping the cheaper labor. That's a concern. Now, of course, it's not just them, it's everybody, right? This is across the board. Everybody is filing for more unemployment, no matter what income bracket you're at. But it's definitely affecting those of you that make more money. Now, this also ties in with another article here that I'm going to show you right now. This one article is also came out all in the last few days here, middle of August. It says Americans are still ransacking their entire retirement savings. Now, this one actually talks about Bank of America again, different survey this time. Bank of America has 4 million clients. So here's what it says right here. It says in the second quarter, the tally of folks taking hardship withdrawals from the 401k was up 12% compared to the first 3 months of the year. That means basically it's a 36% year over year increase, according to their 4 million clients that they have getting employee benefits with 401ks and whatnot. That's a big deal, guys. That's just from the last year. They're saying even just in the last little bit, it went up 2.5% from 1.9 the first 3 months. So pretty much what's happening is people are rating their accounts. Is this good or bad? That's the real question. We scroll down a little bit farther here. They'll talk about this. They'll say right now, the average worker hardship withdrawal from a 401k plan in the second quarter of this year was $5,000 on par with the average in the first quarter. So people are still accessing it. They say most of it's going to be Generation X or millennials have been accessing this money as hardship withdrawals. This is not just people that are cashing out like what we have some of our clients. Many of our clients will end up deciding they just don't want their 401k plans anymore or IRAs. They start cashing them out to go do other things. But these are people that, of course, either borrowing funds and or getting a hardship withdrawal. These are two very different things. If you borrow, you don't have to show a hardship. Now, a hardship withdrawal requires that there really has to be, obviously, usually a financial hardship. It could be medical. There's a lot more reasons to be able to access your funds in a 401k. That's one thing that did change last year. That's not a bad thing. It does give you some more liquid access to it, but still you got to jump through all these hoops to get to those hardship withdrawals. And they only let you access either 50% of it, half of that money, or 50,000, whichever is less. In many cases, they'll say, well, maybe only a limit of $10,000, depending on the reason that you're trying to get to this money. That's an issue, guys. This is a big issue because if you put that with the fact that we're seeing unemployment benefits going up, wouldn't that be safe to assume that maybe, just maybe, there might be an issue going on in the economy today that they're not talking about? Because everything in the news has been saying, oh, woof, recession is over. We're done. No more worries. It's fine. Bull crap. Okay. It's not over. That's my point. Just because you get a little breath, you could still be drowning and get a breath of air before you take that plunge and sink further down. It's the same thing happening right now, guys. I know I've been talking recession for quite a while, but the truth is we were expecting recession going into 2020 before the pandemic. And then when they started pumping all this money in the economy, everything seemed amazing. Everything was awesome. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool. seemed like things were incredible. But that's just because they pumped a bunch of money in the economy. They started paying you for your child tax credit rather than waiting till tax time. They started paying that into your account every month. They started deferring student loan payments, which, by the way, in October start coming due. We also have issues with higher credit card interest rates going up. I've done other videos talking about the credit card interest rates, and the credit card balances have broken $1 trillion. This, guys, this is a sign that things are about to get worse. Why? It's not about exports, imports, all that kind of stuff. Because yes, overall, we still see pretty good news when it comes to jobs and employment. That hasn't been the biggest issue yet, even though that is on the rise. The biggest issue is you can't afford to live week to week, month to month. Inflation is going up higher than your wages. In fact, they mentioned that in that other article. They said that for those making the higher wages, they pretty much broke even over last year. There's barely a positive increase in salaries over the last year, where if you're under $50,000, you saw the bigger increase, which is only about 3%. Guys, they've been saying even with inflation coming down, inflation is still right around 4.5% right now. I'm here to tell you that's not a true number either. Just like they're fudging the numbers on unemployment, they're also fudging the numbers on inflation. Inflation has always been higher in real life than what the government says it is. Often it's usually at least 5 to 7% or more higher than what they say. So let's just go on the low end. Say it's 5% more. That means inflation is still like 9%, maybe higher, where you get maybe, if you're lucky, a 3% raise. So expenses are going up. Your wages are not going up as fast. That makes it tighter for you to live in the same kind of lifestyle you have day to day. Yes, you can cut back, but pretty soon you can only cut back so far before you say, I'm broke. And this is what people are doing right now. There's credit card balances going up, as I just mentioned. Why are they going up? Because people can't afford to live, especially if you're in the younger generation. You haven't established yourself. If you're a millennial or a Zoomer even, you're trying to get a leg up. And what happens is that you're not getting the same lifestyle as your parents. I'm sorry, but the baby boomers had it easier. They had recessions. I'm not saying that it was always sunshine and rainbows, but for quality of life compared to the inflation, it was better back then than it is today. It's just getting worse. You're falling more and more behind, but everybody keeps telling you, well, everything's great. Doesn't that make you feel like crap? If you feel like the rest of the world's doing well and you're not, you start to wonder, well, maybe it's something about me. I remember early on when I was in my 20s, I remember when the markets were booming after Y2K, things were starting to come back again and booming. I remember I was going through my hardest financial crisis. My credit card balances were going up. Having to keep up with those payments plus the higher interest rates were not fun. And so I was scrambling just to try to make ends meet week to week, month to month. In fact, I even got second jobs just to try to make ends meet. I even asked for handouts, for help from family to help things become easier. This has become more prevalent among millennials as well as the Generation Z, the Zoomers generation, more than ever. They're starting to realize that they have to move back home. There's stats saying that really half of Zoomers still live at home. And even some of the millennials that are under the age of 30, half are back living at home or have never left home in the first place. They haven't been able to launch on their own. Guys, this is not your fault. Now, you might be eating out. Maybe you're spending money unwisely because nobody's taught you really good things about money, and that's fine. But I know a lot of you are doing what you can. You're actually probably staying on a pretty tight budget, and yet it's still not enough because you're still getting your butt kicked by inflation while wages can't keep up. And companies can't keep up either because if they have debt, their interest rates are going up too. They're losing profits and they got to do whatever they can to cut. And that's what's going to mean more layoffs. Just so you know, the feds wanted this. They want it to be this way. The feds were asking for ways to make Americans hurt, and they're creating it. Unfortunately, it's hurting you, all because the feds are just trying to control inflation. But what they're actually doing is keeping your wages down while trying to bring inflation down too. That doesn't help the situation. In fact, that only makes your life worse because not only your wages not going up, but your expenses are going up whether you like it or not. Now, as promised, what can you do about it? Right now, I'm going to say this. You need to focus, instead of trying to go to retirement, focus on having liquidity, because you don't know if you get laid off. And especially if you're a higher income earner, you right now need to take control of your money. In fact, I can't give you an investment recommendation, but why dump all this money in your 401k if all of a sudden you have to pull it back out and then you get taxed on it and possibly penalized depending on your situation. Now, if you get laid off, you may not get penalized on it, but you still have to get taxed on money that's supposed to be yours in the first place. There are better things to do with your money than that. You can store your money in better places that are safer, make more than the bank, like infinite banking you'll hear me talk about on this channel. But on top of that, if you get your money out and liquid and instead invest it in assets and investments that create monthly or quarterly cash flow, now you're protecting yourself against layoffs, against recessions, against inflation. and really against the government doing stupid things, because they will. You can protect yourself doing that, but you got to buy real assets like real estate, for example, that produce income. Get your money out of prison. Stop worrying about throwing that money into a retirement account that, by the way, when things start like this start really happening, you're going to see your stock portfolio drop too. So why have that really, what am I up to? A quintuple whammy at this point, right? We talk about wages not going up, inflation going up, layoffs going up, credit card balances, and interest rates going up, savings going down. And then, of course, on top of that, we got the stock market going down, which means your 401k balance that's locked up in there goes down too. We don't want all that stuff to happen to you at the same time. That's what happens in recessions. That's what resets people sometimes 10, 15, 20 plus years to try to make it back because the stock market takes their money away. You can take the control in your own hands, but it requires you doing it differently. Be sure to watch the other videos on this channel, like and subscribe, because I'm telling you, the answers are here. There are other investments and there's other things you can be doing with your money much better than what your coworkers are doing. And it's going to lead them to creating more stress and having a worse lifestyle than their parents had. You do not have to follow that example. You do not have to follow the masses and get trapped. You can take control of your money right now. Be sure to check out our stuff at moneyripples.com and check out the other videos on this channel.